Hey, gang! Merry Christmas! I don't know whether you know this or not, but today is Ugly Sweater Day. I couldn't kind of find my ugly sweater, but I do have my ugly Christmas jacket. Today I am chatting with Kelly Marsimo with Leading Response. They recently did a new consumer study, and we are going to talk about the findings and what that means to you as a senior living operator. But first, let's start with this.
Hey guys, Steve Moran here.
Hey, Kelly, and let's see, kind of lean back and let's see what you did in your best version of your kind of an ugly sweater Christmas thing. I know we didn't talk about it until yesterday, so I didn't give you a lot of advance notice.
Yeah, so I'm sorry I didn't have time to get an actual sweater, though I made an effort. There's a lot of them are sold out here on Cape Cod where I live. But I did manage to put together a little scarf and a not attractive sweater. So I tried to give it a little Christmas look, kind of an ugly sweater ensemble.
Perfect. Great. So you are with Leading Response. What do you do with them? Let's talk about who Leading Response is and what you do, and then we're going to dig into the findings of this survey. And I'm going to sort of preface this by saying they did offer to share this results. I decided I'm going to get them live here. So I have no idea what they're seeing, but I know that when they do surveys, it's always amazing stuff. So,
well, thanks, Steve. You know, we're really happy to be here. I appreciate you having us on. And I'm Kelly Marsimo, as you said, and I've been with Leading Response for about a year and a half. I am a longtime salesperson by career trade, and I've been in the senior living industry for nearly 10 years. I came over to the senior living industry out of other sales after the Gulf spill, looking to do something a little more altruistic, and really found my place in a great industry that really it's such an enriching place to work. So I was in community sales for many years, and then came to the consulting side a few years ago. But Leading Response, we're a performance marketer, and we utilize consumer-based data and analytics with our 3,000 campaigns per month that we're doing to generate highly qualified prospects for our clients. So we love data, and we have lots of it, and we have lots of data to share. So that's why that's one of the things that we like to bring out to our audience, is just let them know what we're seeing in the industry and what's going on.
terrific. So let's talk about the survey. So do you want me to bring up this first slide?
Yeah, the first slide you should be able to bring up. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, let's take a look. Talk to us about what we are seeing here.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is, oh no, wait, can you go back one? I think we missed the first. We missed the first one. No, there it is.
Wait,
Yeah,
here we go. Okay,
that's it. So I apologize, because of the size of the screen, it's scrunched down. You don't see. This is the demographics of the survey responders is the first thing that we're going to look at. And this is always interesting data to see who actually responded from the survey that we sent out, and how they responded too. So if you look over to the right, you'll see that that's the platform that they use to respond. And no surprise, people are using tablets and handheld devices to respond to these surveys. You see the different makeup, male to female, and also the income brackets. But to the left, you see the basic census demographics. So that's the age of the respondents. And what we sent this out to is between 55 and 70. So you see what we normally would be thinking of as adult children influencers, and the senior prospects themselves. So senior prospects with a strong response to the survey.
Perfect. And so these are, as you sort of think about this, these are people who are not really consumers or likely to be consumers in the next, say, 5 or 10 years, but they're decision makers for family members.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a mix of both senior prospects, those who are maybe looking for the independent side, and then there are adult children who are maybe looking more for the care side of things.
Okay, perfect.
So a bit of a blend on that, and that's typically what we see.
Okay, great.
So the first question that we ask, and this question is actually a repeat question from our survey that we did in September of 2020. And the question here is, how has the pandemic changed your mind about senior living? And back in 2020, 90% said it hadn't changed their mind at all. And now we're seeing a little bit of a change to that number. So that's dropped down to about 60%. But we look at this and say, well, where did those people pivot to? So we didn't have any increase in the I am no longer considering senior living, which is good news. But people are, as we are enduring through this pandemic, coming to say they're not sure how they feel about it. So that just gives us the indication that we need to be educating consumers to let them sort of turn them around and educate them on why they need to come back to it hasn't changed my mind that senior living is still a good option for me.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this data. So the survey is of people who have already indicated an interest in senior living or a willingness to move into senior living, or at least to consider senior living?
That's a good question, Steve. If you hang on for 1 second, I was actually just talking to Val about that. And, and we didn't say that, you had said that Valerie Whitman, our VP of Health Services, was going to be here today.
Yeah.
And we are sorry to say her voice is not able to accommodate that. She's got a bit of a cold, so we weren't able to have her come on. So she did tell me, because I did ask her about that, because that was not something that I was familiar with, that this data set is, we use an independent source for this data. So we sent this survey out to an independent source because the people in our database would have been interested and likely to attend the seminar. So we didn't survey them because they would have already been educated. So these are folks that the topic is brand new to.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked this, and I think would be maybe next time when you ask this question, if it's a broad market survey that's not people who've already put up their hand and said, yeah, I'm interested in senior living, is that because I kept thinking, well, maybe there should be a fourth category of people who said, I didn't used to be interested in senior living, but now
I am.
Right. So that was why because I believe that if we tell our story right, the biggest opportunity is to take people who are firmly committed to the idea of staying home and actually convert them to the idea that senior living is better. Because I'm actually living this with my own family right now, where I think that they are heavily, my dad and his wife are really heavily committed to staying home. And I actually think senior living would be better. And so I'm spending a lot of time thinking about how I can make that case, right? So I think that that's just a really, really important thing. So anyway, so I think that this is really significant, that mostly people, I think we tend to think people are really scared away when they aren't nearly as scared away as we think they are.
Right. I think what it's saying is people are asking for that education. They need to learn more so they can be sure of their decision, and they want to be educated. So I think that's the thing that we take away from that.
Perfect. Okay, what's next? Next slide.
So go to the next slide. So this says, when choosing a senior living community, which of the following factors are most important to you? And what we see here is cleanliness is number one. Pre-COVID, that was not true. It did not in previous times pop up as the most important thing, but now, of course, everyone's very concerned about how clean your community is. And so again, it's that education piece. If this is what folks are most concerned about, then this is what we need to educate them on. So it's letting them know what we're doing to keep the community clean, free of germs, how we're vaccinating our staff, what we're doing along those lines. That's important right now for consumers to learn that and understand that about communities.
So where do you think and maybe we'll get to this. This is probably the disadvantage of me not looking at the slides in advance, right? Is we'll get to that. But the question that I find myself thinking is, if I were looking for senior living for me or for somebody I love, I'd almost assume, may not be right that I should, but I'd almost assume that these are going to be sort of okay. And of course, the location is going to be obvious based on what I pick. But the question I really have is, what is it like living there? So the programming, what does that come into that process?
Yeah, we have a survey question exactly on that. So we will get to that.
Okay. Very good.
And what we see here too, as always, cost is a critical factor for everyone. Location, because we know seniors want visits. That to me, when I was in that community role, that was the point I would be very careful to let families know that that is an important aspect. It is not picking, you get two siblings that live far apart from each other. They're like, oh, we'll put mom in the middle. But that doesn't give mom as many visits if you put her closer to the person that's going to have the most time to visit. So that was always my recommendation. So,
Yep.
Location is very important in how that plays to families, because visiting is really one of the most important things. As you're aging in place, you want your family to come see you as often as possible.
Yep.
And you want to
Well,
make it
we're
easy
working
for
with
them.
another a family friend right now who's 93, living in a senior living community, and we're helping the family make a big relocation to Iowa or someplace in the middle of the country for that very reason, so they can be
Yep.
near a daughter,
Yep.
and so that's really important.
Okay. So I think your next slide is blank, so just skip to the next one.
Okay.
There you go. So this
Well,
question,
this is so important.
yep, how would you like to learn more about senior living options? And they could choose more than one answer on this one. So it's not just one form that seniors are looking for. They want to learn about it from all angles. So they're willing to, do in person, do the virtual webinars. They want to see articles online. They want to tour the community. They want to do all of the above. So everything there, that's what we want to be offering out to our prospects, so that they get the information they need. A recent Enquire Solution study showed that it takes an average of 22 touch points to go from inquiry to move-in for senior living prospects. So these touch points will vary with all modes of communication, and messaging needs to be incorporated that includes this information. So consumers are making a significant decision, and you want the various bits of information that they're looking for through various channels, such as articles, reviews, videos, conversations within the community, and tours. Those are all the tools that we use to get that message across to those folks.
So I want to talk a little bit more about this 22 touches number, because sort of give you a couple of data points. First off, 22 feels like it's too much, right? So I would worry that after I've sent 3 or 4 pieces of communication and maybe I haven't gotten a response, or I haven't gotten a rapid response, that at some point in time I just become annoying. And let me sort of add one more piece of color to that, and then I'll shut up. But the other thing I hear a lot is when people are using lead aggregators, that the consumers get really unhappy because they're just inundated with these sales calls.
Right. So I think you have to be very careful what those touches are. I think those 22 touches are not going to be all one thing. And even like your automated emails or email touches that you're doing, it includes a lot of things like calls, tours, lease signings. All of those touches are part of that process. So we don't want to think we need to send 22 emails, because we don't. And when we're sending emails through an automated system, we want to make sure that that information is helpful information. It's not selling, it's helpful information. You're being a support, not a sale process through there. So your touches are about giving consumers, prospects, and their families the information they need, the support they need. It could be something completely off topic that you could send. You're in a conversation with a daughter and she needs, she's highly stressed, and you could send out a gift card, to say you should go and enjoy some spa time for yourself. Like, that's a touch, and that touch counts. So it's not all about just automated emails and even just plain phone calls. Like, phone calls with a purpose, that's what you need to be doing, and all the other things that we do, but a complete blend of that marketing.
So if we were to, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. And so you may not be able to give me a list of 10, but what are the 10 most significant, most important things that consumers want to know about senior living? We who are in the business, of course, we have this list of what we think is the most important, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually the most important, right?
Well, I think if we skip to the next slide, I think we're going to see that.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. There you go. So when they're evaluating the senior living community, we ask them, what's most important to you? Rank by most important to least important. So here you see cost, obviously a critically important part, but we're looking at staff longevity as a new emerging concern that seniors and their loved ones have. And that is because we know as an industry, we are suffering a bit of a staffing crisis. So making sure that we engage and let the prospects know that we have long-term staff employees that have been with us for a long time. If you can make that, share that information. They want and need to know that. They want to know that the people that are caring for their most, their loved one is going to be cared for by people who care. So you want to make sure you're putting out information that shows the interactions between your staff and the residents, just so they see that kind of information. So that's really important as well.
So I suppose it's really hard to gauge, but I would certainly think, and probably it ultimately ties into staff longevity, but I would think staff friendliness would be critical as
Yeah.
well.
Well, yeah, because you definitely want to have people who care for seniors working in that environment, and that is, part of a person that cares is going to have that distinction, or that
So
strength.
So let's talk a little bit about the cost issue. One of the things that we know in the industry right now is that costs for everything are going up. So broadly, we know inflation has gone up, which means the cost for, everything from food to PPE to disposables is increasing. And Nick yesterday put out a report talking about the staffing crisis, and it's really, really significant, and it's accelerating, which almost certainly means higher prices. And as I'm talking to people and reading the industry, what I'm hearing is that nearly everybody is talking about 9, 10, maybe low side 8, sometimes 10 or 11, 12% increase in rates. So is any sense about how much flexibility and cost and what's going to happen as we see those costs start to rise?
Yeah, it's the biggest challenge I think that senior living is facing right now, is trying to get a handle on keeping the rising costs, where they can manage it, while also not raising their costs to their families and their residents to the point where they can't afford to come anymore. So that is absolutely a very big challenge that we see in this as an industry. I agree with you there. But I think communities are very creative and are really going a long way to do a terrific job of maintaining that line. Like, I've been talking to some senior living high level executives that have told me that they've done a lot of things, like looking at every single line item to find the best and lowest cost possible, and really looking at how they're spending their money and looking at ROI on their marketing efforts to make sure that they are getting the best bang for their buck on everything that they do, and getting the best return to keep those things moving and happening like they're supposed to do it. But consumers will continue to have concerns with rental costs, along with everything else, just as we all do. And increasing costs in care and care-based need will still need to make a decision. I think IL will take longer to move and wait for the rental price increases to come down. So I think it may be a bit of a more challenge to the independent residents who have the option to continue to stay home. And like we've seen before, when costs have risen before, back in 2008, we saw a delay of entry into senior living as a response to rising costs in the loss, because the loss of revenue or income that folks had due to the loss of value in their homes.
So the thinking really is that if the costs go up, probably the biggest impact we're going to see is people looking to reduce that cost by delaying moving in when they can.
Right. So again, that will be the challenge to the sales team, is to really educate them on why the benefits coming sooner rather than later are going to be the way that they need to think about it. Because the longer folks delay coming into a supportive environment, the more challenged they're going to become.
Yeah.
So, we always know sooner is better. They always say, I wish I'd come sooner.
Yep.
Because once they come in and start to see the benefits of their health in general, I mean, that's the biggest thing. We see that sort of turnaround after just a couple of months of coming from home and being isolated. You come into the community and you get revived. It's an incredible thing to watch and see happen. That's one of the things I always enjoyed in my community role, is watching the residents just light up and become so much more energetic and do more things. And, just, I remember like people saying, I can't get to the dining room, but they wanted to move their apartment because they thought it was too long of a walk. But I'm like, oh, you know what? Just take your time. And after a couple of weeks, they were right into moving, and they started moving faster everywhere they went, and they were glad for that little bit of walk. So
Yep. And the other thing I guess I would say is that when I look at the cost factor, I think one of the things that happens is that, let's say we've got a $6,000 a month fee, right? I tend to think 6,000 times 12 times 10 years. And yet, in reality, we know the average stay in assisted living is somewhere in 18 to 22 months, independent living a bit longer. And of course, the dollars are smaller. And I think it's really becomes, and you sort of hate to talk about it, right? Because because we know how it ends, and that's typically not pleasant to think about. But when you really come right down to it, if I'm looking at it and saying, well, I've got an 18-month or a 20-month or even a 30-month period of time where I'm paying an extra $500, $600 a month, the number really becomes much more manageable. So, and I'm not sure that we have really done a good job of studying how flexible people are on prices. It's easy for us to think, oh, people won't pay more, but maybe that's not really true. So
right. And I agree. And it's interesting because my experience was always the folks that really had the most money that could afford to live in the community were the ones that were most upset about the price increases.
yeah,
And the folks that were just getting by on the string, they were still appreciative once they're in the community and see the value of what they're paying for. They're not unhappy with a price increase. They understand. They want to see the staff get paid more. They want to see the quality of things remain the same, and they know that the world is increasing in cost. So residents get it, families get it if they're in the community. I believe that.
great. And is that the last slide?
Oh, I think there's one more.
Okay, perfect.
So this is the last one, and so this one we're looking at when evaluating the community, what amenities are most important to you. So what is it that they find to be what they're looking for, right? So obviously, activities and active lifestyle and wellness clinics are high on this priority because, as we were saying, seniors recognize the benefits they're going to get from that added health value of increasing their activities, increasing their social engagement. So those things are critically important. And you want to highlight those through staff and resident testimonials, using videos, things like TikTok, one-day videos, using your social media platforms to really put out there what's going on in your community on a daily basis that makes it great and why residents want to come to you. I think one of the things that I found interesting on this slide is the weekly happy hour was not getting much play. And we were talking about that and thinking like, wow, well, why is that? And I think when folks are coming from an isolated situation, they're not getting out. They're not going to happy hour. So they don't put that high on their priority list. But once they get into the community, what do we know? That's one of their favorite things. Like happy hour is critically important to residents. They love the social time, trying new appetizer foods, always a fun part of it, and just getting out and having a good time with their friends and neighbors.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it, and this, I don't know, maybe this sounds weird, but I think the other part of it is that people are reluctant, even in a survey situation, to say, "Yeah, I don't have enough friends," because it makes you sort of feel like a loser internally, right? And so, even if that's a big piece, it might not be something that would necessarily show up on survey results. But so I think that this is so significant that people what really strikes me about this is how much of this is about being active as opposed to passive activities, or of sitting and reading or newspapers. It really is about doing things that are going to stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And, I think communities have really been focusing on this. We see a lot of them, adding features to their communities in light of knowing this, like adding exercise rooms, expanding their wellness program, doing things that they know are going to really help keep their residents healthier and happier, close that back door, so to speak, so that, folks are staying with them as longer and healthier.
Okay, so I want to take a step back, and I want to take a look at this overall results. I'll just sort of have two questions. I want to close this out
Okay.
today. The first is that you're in operations, a senior living. You're an executive director. You are a regional. You're a chief operating officer, CEO, president, and you look at these results. What should I be thinking in terms of what I might keep doing more of, or I need to do differently?
Well, I think the thing that's very clear to me is that educating um, our prospects and their family members about our offering is absolutely the most important thing. Like educate, educate, educate. That's what we need to do. And how do we do that? And are we doing that in the multi-channeled ways that are possible? That's what we want to do in all forms to meet each prospect where they are in their process. So you've got consumers in all different phases of a journey. So you have to be putting out that educational information in ways that reflect and honor where they are in the process. Not everybody is in the same place. So not all information is going to be taken in the same way.
Perfect. So we have talked about not at all about leading response. We've talked about data. I want to give you guys a little bit of a plug here. You guys actually help communities get better leads, right? And let's just take a couple minutes to talk about how you do that.
So we drive an audience for our clients, for our senior living clients, to their educational events. So we're saying educate because we know how important it is. And so how we help is by driving an audience of highly targeted leads. So people that we identify as ideal prospects for communities to the educational events that they're going to host, whether that be in person or virtually. So, traditional educational dinner seminars and webinars on our webinar platform where they can reach an audience through digital advertising on the virtual platform and reach their audience for in-person using direct mail.
Okay. And how do people, so we actually have two resources for you. The first is we're going to actually make a slide deck available to you, and I'm going to put up a number that you can text to. It won't come to, I want to preface it that it won't come to you immediately, but we will get it to you either on Monday or Tuesday of next week. I'll put that up in just a minute. But first, if people are interested in chatting with you, with Leading Response about lead gen, how would they do that?
Oh, well, they can reach out to me by email. I'm available at kelly.marsimo@leadingresponse.com. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You will find me there. And my phone number is 813-885-8215.
Perfect. And if you ask for a slide deck, we will make sure you get in touch with them anyway. So let me put up this. If you'd like to get a copy of the survey results, text the word slides to 916-659-5287. One thing I need to tell you, two things I need to tell you about this. The first thing is, and I wish I could fix it, is they're going to ask you for your birth date. I don't care if you tell the truth or not, but it's a required field. We do not have the ability to take it out. Tell us you're 2 years old or you're 108. It's okay with me. But I always want to warn people that it's just this weird platform. They don't do that. And I think it's a way to control inappropriate things to younger people. I don't really know why they do that. And if you've not signed up on the platform before, when you do this, it will send you back a request to fill in, give us a little bit more information. If you're already in there, it'll just add you to the database, and we will send the slides out to you next week. So we're excited about sharing those with you. And last thoughts, last words. Oh, actually, I had one more question I started to ask you.
Okay.
And if I'm a salesperson.
Let me just put one more thing in there before you ask me the last question. Is as far as reaching out and understanding what we do, of course you want to look at leadingresponse.com.
Of course, leadingresponse.com. So the other question I had for you is, if I'm a salesperson and I'm looking at this, what do I take from this to be able to sell better?
I think connecting with your prospects to understand what they're looking for and what their needs are by asking questions always, I think that's the most important thing a salesperson can do is understand the needs of their prospect and their families. So ask questions, listen, and educate, because that's what they need. That's what they're looking for.
Perfect. Kelly, thank you very much. Have a
Thanks, Steve.
wonderful holidays. Thank you for watching. We will be back on Christmas Eve. Santa will be hosting.
That's right.
And so Santa is really looking forward to being here on Christmas Eve and wishing you a Merry Christmas. And Kelly, Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays
Merry
as
Christmas.
well.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks so much. I appreciate being able to be here and talk with you today. It was terrific.